Not knowing what to do, I climbed to the top of a tall tree and looked around in every direction, hoping to see something that might give me hope. When I gazed toward the sea, I saw nothing but endless sky and water. Turning my eyes over the land, I noticed something white in the distance. Coming down from the tree, I gathered what little provisions I had left and went toward it. The distance was so great that I could not distinguish what it was at first. As I came nearer, I thought it looked like a great white dome of prodigious height and size. When I reached it, I touched it and found it perfectly smooth. I walked around it to see if there was any opening, but found none, nor could I climb to the top, for its surface was too slippery. It was at least 50 paces in circumference. By this time, the sun was setting, when suddenly the sky darkened as though covered by a thick cloud. I was astonished at this sudden change, but my surprise turned to terror when I saw that the darkness was caused by an enormous bird flying toward me. I remembered hearing sailors speak of a miraculous bird called the Roc, and realized that the great dome I had seen was one of its eggs. The gigantic creature soon descended and settled over the egg. As it did so, I crept close and tied myself firmly to one of its legs with my turban, hoping that when the roc flew away at daybreak, it would carry me out of this desolate island. When morning came, the bird rose into the air, bearing me so high that I could no longer see the earth below. Then it descended so swiftly that I lost consciousness. When I came to myself, I found I was on the ground once more. Quickly untying the knot, I had barely freed myself when the roc seized a monstrous serpent in its claws and flew away. The spot where I was left lay in a deep valley, surrounded on all sides by mountains so high that their tops seemed to pierce the clouds. Their steep sides made it impossible to escape. I found myself once again in despair, for this valley seemed even worse than the desert island I had left. As I wandered through the valley, I saw that the ground was strewn with diamonds, some of enormous size. I was delighted by their brilliance, but my pleasure soon vanished when I saw, in the distance, huge serpents of such monstrous size that the smallest of them could have swallowed an elephant. They hid themselves in caves during the day to escape the roc, their enemy, and came out only at night. I spent the day walking carefully about the valley, resting now and then, and when night fell, I crept into a narrow cave, closing the entrance with a great stone to protect myself from the serpents while still allowing some light to enter. I ate a little of my provisions, but was too terrified by the hissing of the serpents to sleep. At dawn, the serpents returned to their dens, and I came out of the cave trembling. I truly walked upon diamonds without daring to touch them. Exhausted, I sat down, and after eating a little more, I fell into a deep sleep. I was suddenly awakened by a loud noise beside me. A large piece of raw meat had fallen from the sky, and I saw many more landing in various parts of the valley. I now remembered hearing sailors speak of the Valley of Diamonds and of the strange methods merchants used to obtain jewels from it. They had always seemed to me fables, but I now saw the truth with my own eyes. The merchants, I knew, came to this valley when the eagles had young ones. They threw large pieces of meat down into the valley. The diamonds, sticking to the flesh, were carried off by the eagles to their nests high on the surrounding cliffs to feed their young. When the merchants saw the eagles return to their nests, They would frighten them away with loud cries and take the diamonds that clung to the meat. Seeing this, I thought of a way to escape. I gathered together the largest diamonds I could find and put them into the leather bag in which I carried my provisions. Then I took a large piece of meat, tied it securely around me with a strip of my turban, and lay face down upon the ground, fastening the bag of diamonds to my belt. Before long, an eagle swooped down, seized a piece of meat to which I was tied, and carried me up to its nest on the mountain top. The merchant soon arrived, shouting to scare away the birds, and when one of them climbed to the nest, he was astonished to see me there. At first, he accused me of stealing his goods, but I said calmly, "Do not be uneasy, my friend. You will treat me more civilly when you know me better. I have diamonds enough for both of us, more, indeed, than all the other merchants together. What they obtained by chance, I have chosen for myself from the bottom of the valley." The other merchants soon gathered around, amazed by my story and by the size of my diamonds, the largest they had ever seen. I offered the man whose nest I had been carried to as many stones as he desired, but he took only one, saying it was enough to make his fortune and spare him all further voyages. I spent that night in their camp, repeating my story for those who had not heard it, scarcely able to believe my own deliverance. When all the merchants had collected their share of diamonds, we left the valley and traveled near mountains inhabited by serpents of prodigious length, which, by good fortune, we escaped. At the first port we reached, we took ship and sailed to the Isle of Roha, where grows a great tree that yields camphor. The tree is so vast and its branches so thick that 100 men may rest beneath its shade. The camphor is obtained by boring a hole in the upper trunk. The juice that flows out thickens into the substance we call camphor, after which the tree dies. In that island also lives a rhinoceros, a beast smaller than the elephant but larger than the buffalo, with a solid horn split down the middle upon its nose. The rhinoceros fights the elephant by driving this horn into its belly and lifting the elephant upon its head, but the blood and fat of the elephant run down into its eyes, blinding it so that it falls to the ground. Whereupon, strange to tell, the roc descends and carries them both away for food for her young. In that island I exchanged some of my diamond for merchandise. From there we visited several other islands and trading towns before finally landing at Basra. From Basra I journeyed to Baghdad, where I gave generous alms to the poor and lived honorably upon the vast riches I had gained with such peril and toil.